This is Jordan Edwards, and this is the Business Jiu-Jitsu Podcast.
All right. Good afternoon, Alex Ecklin. Welcome to the Business Jiu-Jitsu Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Jordan.
Yeah, really, really great to be connected with you. We had a chance to chat a week or two ago and just get to know each other a little, but super excited to have you on the podcast. For those who don't know, Alex and his great academy in New York City, Master Skaya, you're a great and very well-known and well-regarded Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach, but you also have some fabulous instructionals out there. You have a new app that I can't wait to talk to you about called Sensei, and you're a very well-known instructor and figure here in the New York Jiu-Jitsu community. I don't recall if you're still competing, but I know you had a good competition career on EBIs and on the Pan Am and IBJJF circuit. You went up against some of the best and greatest names of all time and had some great matches. So just excited to get to know you, and thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so your academy today is in New York City, right off Canal Street.
Yeah, so we have like one of the best locations. We're right on Canal and Broadway. Previously, we were in Brooklyn. We had a couple locations, and then we closed down because of the pandemic. And then when we reopened in 2021, we got this beautiful location right next to McDonald's.
Yeah, that's
easy to find.
Easy for the subway too over there on Canal near Broadway.
Yep, exactly.
My parents used to live right around the block from you. They're no longer there. They don't live in the city any longer, but they lived at Franklin and Broadway for years. And
it's such a beautiful area. Lots of lofts, lots of beautiful architecture, cast iron buildings.
Yeah, their building that they lived in is no longer there. It was torn down and a big sky rise in this, but they lived in this very cool loft. And I just love that neighborhood. It's a great neighborhood right on the edge of Tribeca and Chinatown, and lots of good food and places to explore.
100%.
Yeah. So great to have an academy there. So you're a Brooklyn native, right? You grew up in Brooklyn?
Yeah, I was born in Ukraine. And then when I was 6 years old, my family and we moved to Brooklyn. And yeah, I've been, Brooklyn raised ever since.
Where about in Brooklyn?
So we moved to around like Flatbush, like Dimmers Park, Kensington. And I stayed there, the whole time. Now I moved a little bit closer. I live closer to Prospect Park, but yeah, I'm still really, really proud Brooklyn native.
Yeah. My mom was born and raised in Brooklyn and Canarsie. And a big part of my experience growing up was visiting my grandparents in Brooklyn and going to Brooklyn and family and friends. While it has changed a lot since I'm 40, I don't know how old you are, but when I was growing up, it was simultaneously totally different and also exactly the same. I don't know how that makes sense to you, but there are parts of it that literally have not changed at all. And then other parts of it that are completely unrecognizable from when I was growing up.
Yeah, and I totally see that. Brooklyn has its own like heart and soul, and I think that hasn't changed. But yeah, different businesses, different stores, but there's still a lot of like especially grumpy Brooklynites that have still stayed, since I don't know, dozens of years.
What was it like growing up in Brooklyn for you? Like coming here as a young guy, what did you say, 6 years old, moving here with your parents, and what was it like growing up in Brooklyn?
It's funny. I hated it for such a long time. It was so different. And, when I first moved here, I didn't speak English also. I attended ESL. It took me a couple years to even learn English. And, I didn't really have that many friends, so it took me a while to kind of get used to it. And then like growing up as like a teenager, I really didn't care for it. I was just like, this is just where I am. And I remember when I was like maybe 18, 19, I traveled to Costa Rica. And in Costa Rica, like people are like, where are you from? And I was like, I'm from Brooklyn. And people like, oh my God, you're from Brooklyn. And I was like, yeah, like that's like such a not a desirable place to live. But, and then after that, slowly, little by little, I realized that, Brooklyn is, a cool place. And, but I think, to recognize that growing up wouldn't have been good. So I'm glad that I was like in this little bubble, not liking it as much as, I should have.
When I was in college, so this was around 2005, 2006, my dad pitched me the idea of buying a building in Williamsburg. We were in the real estate business. And I was like obsessed with real estate at the time in my life. I had bought an apartment in Brooklyn when I was 18. Excuse me,
Wow.
in Boston, where I
Hmm.
was at school. And I was just, all I could think about was real estate. Real estate. I was obsessed with real estate. And he pitched me the idea of getting a few of my friends together and buying a building in Brooklyn, and at the time Williamsburg. And I was like, Brooklyn? Who would want to live in Brooklyn? It's all about Manhattan. You got to live in Manhattan. I was like,
Yeah.
by the time I moved back from Boston to New York, I was eating my words. I wish I would have. All I could have done, if I just waved my finger around like this and picked any building in Brooklyn, I would have just stumbled into success because of how hot it got. And I did not
For
see it
sure.
at the time. And it sounds like you're saying the same kind of thing. Like it was like
For
Brooklyn.
sure. Yeah, like when I was a kid, my friends, we would take the train. We would actually go to Chinatown. We would go to Lower East Side. We would like hang out over here. And I was talking to one of my students yesterday, actually, where, he was been in Chinatown for like the last 10 years. We were discussing how did it change, this and that. And I was reminiscing that I do remember, and the reason this came up is because right now there's a lot of people selling like counterfeit goods right on Canal Street,
Yeah.
and it's like a flea market of like fake Louis Vuitton and Prada and stuff like that. But I told him, yeah, when I was like a kid, I remember like taking the train to Canal Street because one of my friends was like, "Hey, I know this like secret store that we can go and buy brass knuckles in," and you have to go into like this like secret little shop and behind a different shop and have like a secret password. Not really, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, as a kid, yeah, that's what like the city, like in Brooklyn, you're like, "Hey, you want to go to the city?" And that means, "Hey, let's go to Manhattan." So same thing.
How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
Right now I'm 36.
36. All right, so we're in the
We're
same
similar, yeah, similar.
basic generation. You're a little bit younger
Yeah,
than me, but same
yeah,
same basic thing. Yeah, it was like a rite of passage to go into Manhattan and do bad things, buy a fake ID, buy brass
yep,
knuckles. When I was a little younger than that, buying lighters and just like going into the city was there was a mystique about it. My sensei, Sensei Nardi Deborah, he talks about it all the time. When he would go into Henzo's, the old academy was on 42nd Street above a methadone clinic.
yep.
And my entire life going into Manhattan, it was like a very scary place. It was prostitutes, it was porn shops. It wasn't like until I was out of college and beyond, like that Bloomberg era, where it was Disney and safety on 42nd Street. I mean, it was a very, very gritty place. And New York had a mystique about it that it was like, had like an edge and had danger. I don't know. It's amazing how much it has changed. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yep, very true.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so growing up, did you play sports? Did you get into martial arts when you were a kid? When did you find jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, so I tell the story often and it's like still I think I'm gonna tell it for the rest of my life. But when I was a little kid, probably like 9 or 10 years old, my dad was like, "Hey, let's go watch this movie." And that movie was Bloodsport. And 9 and 10-year-old me, as soon as I saw that, I was like sold. So
Yeah.
I begged my parents to do karate, and then they put me into karate. But I was always like, really out of shape. And I tried like every sport, like everything, under the sun. Like my parents would bring me to different things like every weekend.
Yeah.
And the only thing I really liked was art. I love painting and I love drawing, and everything else I didn't really like. I didn't really, I wasn't really good at anything. I wasn't really an athletic kid. Um, and then later on, I went to like a judo camp, like a
Hmm.
summer camp. And then, I really liked the idea of judo, but I hated doing it. Like I loved like getting a blue judo gi. I remember like begging my parents, like, "Hey, can I buy that blue uniform?" And I really liked the idea of having it, but I really hated training and I was really bad at it. Like I remember doing like my first judo tournament and like violently throwing up like right before and just like not wanting to be there. And then shortly after I stopped. And then when I was 17, I decided to like, yeah, I wanted to get him back into, martial arts. And I found a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school next to my house. And my first coach was Gene Dunn. He's a Henzo black belt, so I'm pretty sure he's very close friends with your coach.
Yes.
So they know each other. And then yeah, I trained with him for a couple of years, and then after that, I wanted to compete and I wanted to do jiu-jitsu full time. And this legend by the name of Vitor Shalin came to New York City, and I was like, wow! Like I saw his highlight, and I was like, I want to train with that guy. And I was one of his first students, and trained with him for about 10 years, and got my black belt under him.
Wow. That's phenomenal. Yes. first and foremost, Gene Dunn and my sensei are uh, old training partners and friends. Gene's a real character.
Oh
Great
yeah,
guy
yeah.
on social media. I don't know if he's still posting actively, but I
He
once
does,
had,
yeah.
I once had the opportunity to have a long conversation with him. Early in the Business Jiu-Jitsu podcast iteration, before I had any notable guests, I got in touch with him, and he really did not have any interest in being on a podcast at the time. But he was he was very gracious with his time to talk to me, and he talked to me for a long. This is during COVID, in the lockdowns, and we had a great conversation about jujitsu and art. And so I have very good feelings for Gene Dunn. He's also Brian Glick's business partner at one time. I don't know if they're still partners in there, but I think they were at the
Yeah.
time. Had some academies together. Really, really interesting guy. That's great that you got to train under him in that scene. Vitor Shaolin still pops up on grappling tournaments. He seems to be reffing all over the place. I see him, and I
Yes.
tell my wife, "You see that guy? Do you see that ref? That's a legend."
Yeah. Unfortunately, not a lot of people know that.
Yeah,
Like I have mixed, like I'm very happy for him, and I wish him all the best.
yeah,
But when he became a referee, I was kind of like, in my head, kind of like questioning it in some ways. Um, and then like what I don't like that's happened a few times is people come up to me like, "Hey, your coach is he's the referee, right?" And I'm like, He is, but he is so much greater than that." So I don't want him to be known as a referee. He is, three-time world champion. He won Masters Division a couple of times. He had
unbelievable,
25 pro MMA fights. He got a bronze in ADCC. He's like a living legend, but
living legend.
living
Absolutely.
legend. Yeah,
That's what I call out to my wife every time I see him. Is listen, if he loves to ref, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
of course.
Uh,
Yeah.
but I call it out to my wife. Recently, I remember him fighting. I don't know if it was one of his last competitions, but he showed up in a quintet.
Yes.
I think it was the one with Gordon Ryan. Was
He fought Gordon. Yeah, he fought Gordon. He fought PG Barch. He fought some beasts
yeah,
that were a little bit bigger than him. A few years younger, and
yeah.
yeah, it's very admirable. I haven't trained under him or with him for several years, but he was always very militant and very disciplined. And like even if he was not competing, like his diet was always impeccable. He was working out every single day, so he was always in shape, even when he was in his 40s.
Yeah, he's. Did he move away from New York, to your knowledge?
Yeah, so he had at one point he had two academies. He would had one in New Jersey and one in New York,
Mhm.
and he was running both while living in New Jersey. But I'm not really sure exactly what happened, but they had to close down the New York one, and from what I know, he's only in the New Jersey one, from what I know.
In Jersey now. Yeah. Well, shout out Vitor Shaolin. What an absolute legend and great person to learn from.
Yeah,
Love. I started training in 2009, and when I was coming up, he was a very like a big name on the scene at the time,
yeah,
competing, and it was like he was one of the people to look to, fighting in MMA, and there were YouTube was even young then, but he was out there, like he was like one of the
yeah.
people who was a real fixture in fighting at that time. So uh, great person. So when did you open your first academy?
So I first opened up Master Sky in 2016,
Mm-hmm.
and we opened it up in Bushwick.
Mm-hmm.
And when we first opened up, it was 100% donation based.
Hmm.
So it was like kind of like a social and marketing experiment. And yeah, we kind of blew up because of that. I didn't expect so many people to come and support us, which they ended up doing. Later, we switched to a more traditional business model, and then we opened up a second location. That was right up until the pandemic.
How did that work? Were the rents cheap enough in Bushwick at the time that you were able to justify, or there were enough people to support you that you could make it work with donations?
Yeah, I had several, like I would say, lucky moments. The first one is a very close friend of mine and like an older brother named Ivor. He helped me out. He was like, "Hey, like if you really want to do this, I will like split the rent with you, and I'll teach kids and you can teach adults
Hmm.
because I never wanted to teach kids." And he was a jujitsu black belt too, but he would never worked in jujitsu or never really did anything with jujitsu. He's an amazing artist. So I kind of felt like, and I don't, he'll never say it, he'll never admit it, but I kind of felt he did it, to help me out a little bit. And I think, he wanted to give it a shot as well, but he's always looked out for me. And then that helped me kind of build things up because I was, paying half of the rent. And then I had like a lot of supporters behind the scene that like, believed in my vision and believed in my ethics and morals, to make jujitsu affordable for everybody. So, that was also very lucky. And yeah, I also, had a lot of personal things as well that was, this was achievable. My like I was still living at home with my parents at the time, so I wasn't paying that much rent. So it was much more achievable you know, than today. Like I don't think I would be able to do it today.
Yeah. Do you mind if I ask, are you married today? Do you have children?
You asked me that last time, and then
I
you told me
did.
that you told me that by the time we do our podcast, I better be married. Unfortunately, I don't work this that quick, but I do have a fiance.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not married. But yeah, we've been together for about 5 years.
The reason why I say that here, and I apologize if I'm redundant, and it's funny because I am redundant. And if there's anything to know about me, um, it's that I do the same thing over, and I say the same things. I believe the same things. Like people often ask me, "You still doing that karate thing?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
still training jiu-jitsu. It's been almost 17 years, and it's like it's Monday night, and I'm going to be training tonight." And it's like, and I have
yeah,
like, I'm very habitual. I do the same things over and over. I go to the same places over and over. I like to live in those rhythms, always trying to get better and better and better. But like I do say the same things. But the reason why I say that to you is I was also responding to what you said about not wanting to teach the kids class at that time in your life.
yeah.
And I have a friend who just had a kid last week or 2 weeks ago, by the way. And
Congrats to him.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's a black belt. And when he wanted to leave his job, he had a very stable job, and he wanted to pursue jujitsu full time. I said to him, "That's a great ambition. What do you plan on? What is the business plan?" I essentially asked him. And he kind of wanted to have a focus on competition and adults. And I said, "Well, what about the kids program?" He's like, "I don't want to teach kids." And I said to him,
yeah,
"Listen, you better fall in love with all the things you don't want to do, because that's going to be the part of it that unfortunately pays the bills. Now, you in New York City and Brooklyn, a little bit different of a story because there's such a deep well to tap into of adults. But he's out in the country, and he reached out to me, maybe about 18 months after being in business, and he's like, "You were so right." Because I told him all the adults are going to come by way of the kids. You're going to have a kids class, and then those parents are going to want to come teach, and it's going to be self-perpetuating. Anyway, it's
yeah.
uh, it's an interesting truth.
My old boss, who actually ran Shellens, he gave me a like rule back then. He said the way to make money in martial arts is off of white belts and kids. And
Yeah.
ironically, Master Sky is doing quite well. Like we have a lot of students, and I think we're growing at the correct pace. But ironically, we don't have any kids, and we have white belts, but our client market is like disgruntled blue and purple belts from other gyms. So we're kind of
Well, you
breaking the
also have
rules
the
in some
benefit of
way.
the benefit of being in New York City, and so
It's
it is
different.
a
Yeah.
different paradigm. And I
Yeah.
would contest that you do not need to have a kids program where young professionals live. You know,
Hmm.
but if you want to open up a jujitsu academy and you live in the suburbs or the country, well, guess what? Like it's going to be very, very, very hard pressed, because that's where families live. And you have to cater to where you're living. But if you're going to be on Canal Street, you could cater to whoever. I mean, listen, you've built an amazing reputation. I knew about you long before we connected. I always saw you on Instagram. You've made a lot of content, which is good. But what do you think has led to that reputation? Like, how did you develop this great reputation?
I think it's actually what you just said about yourself, like consistency. Like I started jiu-jitsu in 2006, and I've been doing it every single day ever since. And either by training, by teaching, by coaching, like everything. Like even like one of my fiance's main complaints is I don't take time off. Like I never take time off. And the few trips that we have gone on, I've always included jiu-jitsu on those trips, either by competing or by teaching a seminar or by visiting a school. Like I just I'm very, very fortunate. I consider myself such a lucky individual that this is my job and my career. So I think uh neglectful would be maybe the word if I didn't take advantage of that fully. And maybe I do it a little bit too much, but yeah, I just think consistency is really the key. And I try to go to all the tournaments. Like I've been, I went to New York Open yesterday, and then, one of my students that's kind of new to the thing, he goes, how do you like, because I was saying hello to a few people. He's like, how do you know these people? I'm like, man, I don't even know their names. I've just seen them for the last 15 years at these events, So
Yes.
I think it's something along those lines. And here we are.
Yeah, it's a growing global community, but it actually is still relatively small. Like you, anywhere I go in the world, I have to travel a lot. I travel a lot for work. I travel a lot in my personal life, and it's always been that way. And so everywhere I go, I always bring my equipment. When I started training, it was taboo. You had your academy, you had your affiliation, and it wasn't always so open that you could just show up to a gym and walk in and be welcomed. It has certainly changed over the years, but even back then, I would just show up and ask and be polite and bow and say, I'm in town, I'm in Puerto Rico, I'm in Los Angeles, wherever I was. I would just show up and be respectful and go train. And I've maintained some of those relationships now for, it's going to be coming up on 20 years soon. And
Amazing.
I still drop in. I still train everywhere I go in the world, whether I'm in Greece. Just this year, I have trained in Greece, in Paris, in multiple countries all over the world. I mean, it's just because I'm stopping. I'm going to Japan in March. I already started reaching out to academies there to see if I would be welcomed. And
nice.
My absolute favorite thing to do. I still get butterflies in my stomach when I go and train at a new academy, and I'm just walking in and I don't know what I'm going to find.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to two things, Jordan. Number one, to seeing a photo of you with the Minari, and number two, of you visiting, Master Sky and Canal Street.
Oh, listen, Master Sky on Canal Street is going to be sooner than Imanari, but I did already
easier, right?
send a message.
Yeah, for sure.
It's funny. Imanari is my hotel is right by his academy, so I'm
nice.
And also on his website, it specifically says that you need to get an invite. So I'm trying to make sure that I have that set up before March.
For sure.
Yeah. So what kind of things are you working on in jiu-jitsu right now? I mean, where is your head at on the state of the sport, on the state of technique? I mean, what excites you about training these days?
I mean, the answer is, it's a difficult one to answer, but kind of everything. I'm really enjoying, building a competition team. We have a few affiliates now. I'm enjoying kind of building that up. I'm enjoying, making Master Sky like a brand. I've been tweaking classes over the years and, trying to find better ways to teach and make it easier to connect with people. And like what's been trending over the last few years, there's been like a switch from, like when I first started, it's like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and like train until you're puking, and just train super hard. And over the last few years, now we're having like cold plunges, recovery. People are talking about like massages, people talking about rest and recovery. People are using technology to track their training. So, that's where the Sensei app, came to be, where I was trying to find, ways to get my students better faster. So I've been having a lot of fun building that. And, over the last couple of years, that's also, been changing. Like where we started with missions, where I would give my students like goals, like, hit 5 arm bars from close guard and track those. And we found a little bit of resistance to that, where people wouldn't track things or people would forget, etc. That's still a feature, but now we're working more on heart rate stuff. So we're exploring ways to track your heart rate during training. And the way that relates is, some of my students, like I'm sure, you know this very well. Like I'm like, hey man, slow down, you're going too hard. And they're like huffing and puffing, and they're like, no, 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 I'm going super light, trust me. So now I have a way to, see that. Hey, no, your heart rate is, 180 beats. You're not, you're not going slow. And vice versa. Like I have some amazing students, but they go a little bit too light. They're a little too relaxed. And, so those I want to, have them speed up. So having that data, I think is really great. And we've been having a lot of fun. Now we've added a live heart rate overlay bar. So now when you're training, you can be almost like a video game character, and your health bar is kind of like your it's your heart rate bar on when you're rolling against somebody or when you're competing against somebody. So that's been super fun. And
Yeah. Let me interrupt you for 1 second to fill everyone in on what we're talking about here. First of all, for those watching, you could see I have pulled up on my screen Alex's Sensei app. For those listening, it's SENSAY.XYZ. So instead of .com, it's .xyz. Easily found on Google if you put it in. But this is an app that Alex is a are you a founder of this app? You developed it?
Yeah, I'm a co-founder.
You're a co-founder.
Yep.
Great. And it's a very cool thing. I'm super pumped to try this out. How do you connect to it? I'm wearing a Whoop right now. What is the input device for data that you have to wear in order to become a video game character?
So Whoop works. Pretty much any heart rate monitor will work. The only ones that don't work is the Aura Ring, and I believe some of those rings they don't work. But you can buy a cheap one off of Amazon, or you can have a Whoop. You can have pretty much any one. We found that the ones that you can put over your bicep work really well because you can put that under your rash guard and it tracks it pretty accurately. The chest ones I believe are even more accurate, but if it's like chest to chest, that can kind of shift around a little bit. So yeah, pretty much
Which
any
one
heart
do
rate
you
monitor.
wear?
I wear one called Coospro, Coospro. It's just like a generic one on Amazon, and it works really well, and it's reliable, and it's like I believe $30, $35.
Yep, that's COOSPO. They have a website. Oh, they have a good sale going on right now. Good time to scoop it up. I'll
Nice.
link to all this stuff.
We got to start affiliate marketing. What kind of business jiu-jitsu is this, Jordan? Yeah,
It's so funny you
yeah,
say that because
yeah,
in my fashion and clothing business, I've worked with like thousands of influencers and always, but I never did any of the affiliate marketing for myself on any of these things. I always love to support people, but it's such an easy win. I absolutely should do it.
yeah.
My wife does it. My wife is a foot and ankle surgeon, a
Oh
podiatrist.
wow,
She's got like 55,000 followers on TikTok,
wow,
and she makes bank. Oh my God, she puts up a pair of
wow.
shoes. It's crazy. I mean, it's
So you don't
crazy.
tap to leg locks, right? Because she can heal you and you can go get right back in there. Yeah.
Dude, let me tell you something. Since I married a foot doctor, the number of foot ailments that I have has gone up exponentially. She says that I manifest them in order to get attention.
Listen, you're just helping her become better as a specialist, right?
I
Yeah.
tell her all the time, it's like we got to make some jujitsu focused content on all my injuries that I have. So I'm constantly getting all kinds of stuff, and I have the benefit of having an amazing world class surgeon in the house, taping me up, shooting me up, wrapping me up. I mean, it's pretty good.
That's
Uh,
funny, man. Yeah,
it's very funny.
yeah.
It's funny that you said that. Yeah, she's I do, and unfortunately I do suffer with them quite often. But she does all kinds of affiliate marketing, and she is exceptional at it. So I gotta
Amazing, yeah.
stuff. You also have some great gear over here. You said that you leaned into art as a younger person. Is that something you're still passionate about? Because I noticed you've got some beautiful merch here.
Yeah, I'm not public about it, and I would never like, call myself an art collector like or something like that. But
Yeah.
in my personal life, I love buying art and I love collecting art. I have a ton of pieces. I love connecting with artists. I love going to like shows and galleries and stuff like that. And the person that started the gym with me, Ivor, he's a sculptor and an artist, and he's the one that kind of helps me out with a lot of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've done is I've connected with a lot of different artists, like tattoo artists, graffiti artists, all sorts of artists, and I've commissioned them to make apparel for Master Skaya. So that's what
Mm-hmm.
you see right there. So what you see is like the Lucky Cat shorts that was designed by Rufus, who is right now making his own fashion line, and he's one of the most fashionable people I know. But yeah, we worked with a bunch of artists throughout the years.
Yeah, at Master Skya's website, MasterSkya shop.com, you can see all of Alex's merch, and it is awesome. I actually have two things in my cart right here. I got these shorts and I got this rash guard
Cool,
ready
thank
to
you, Jordan.
go. Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
love supporting all the people in our orbit. Last week we had it's going to be coming out. Randy Couture was on the podcast right before you. We were talking about his
incredible.
businesses, and Boss Rutan has a product right here. Let me give Boss a little bit more love. He's got this O2 trainer, which is like for training your lungs. Super cool. So yeah, it's like one of the little added benefits. I love seeing how much entrepreneurial spirit is right here in our own community. And also being able to live. I mean, I wonder what your thoughts are on what I'm about to say as someone who's in it. But if I would have told my parents when I was in college that I wanted a career in jiu-jitsu, they would have been like, what? Like, it would have been completely unthinkable to pursue a career in fitness, in martial arts, even the attitude towards like being in the food service industry or being a restaurateur. It was just totally different back then, before like MasterChef and all these shows, and like this kind of like became sexy. But my vision of what I believe the future is going to look like, and I mean the near future, not the far future, I don't think there's going to be regular jobs. I don't think there's going to be like accountants and office workers and clerical. I think like everybody is going to be working in the things that they love. Jiu-jitsu, I often say like fitness, fashion, food, photography, art, anything hospitality, I think is going to be massive. But I think like the most coveted jobs are going to be like what you're doing, where you have an academy, you have an app, you've got a fashion line, you sell art, and like the people who are bought in on your ecosystem and like they go to you as their guy. I think that's going to be the way to make a great, not just a good living, but a great living. So like I think you're on the vanguard of where the future
Thank
is.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that? Are you feeling that?
I mean, it's, I think myself and everyone else, we can't be ignorant to AI. I'm guessing that's where you're, coming from.
Yes.
And, I think, I have mixed feelings about AI, right? But my optimistic view of AI is that it can take away a lot of the mundane things and boring things to do, so that, yes, like you said, we can become creative and we can pursue our passions. So I do hope that that's, where it leads us. And like that's why like AI art, like I would, I don't really care for AI art. I hope that, disappears. But yeah, if like I can get like robots to clean my house and, to do my taxes and things like that, then that'll make things much easier and give me more time to do what I want. So I guess that could be an optimistic view of life, where I do agree with what you're saying.
Yeah. Like as far as art goes for me, I think like art is almost like everything else. It's almost never about the art, and it's almost always about the artist.
Yes.
Like there's unbelievable art out there, but people still want to put up a Keith Haring picture, thing because it's him. Same goes with Banksy. I mean, what did Banksy prove outside of he gave his art away on the streets of New York City for free? No one gave a shit about the art until they found out that it was his name attached to it.
Yeah.
I feel very strongly like that's what the future of art is going to be like, especially as like being able to create art is totally democratized. Like I think it's going to be about its meaning. It's going to be about its meme worthiness. Is it culturally relevant? And then does it have a community behind it? And, if I take it away from jiu-jitsu for a second and I'm seeing like what I'm seeing across other areas of my life with my children, like my son who's 7 is on this flag football team. All right. Every weekend for 2 months, all the parents come together in this league. And what are they doing? They're attending these games. They're buying jerseys. The coaches take it super seriously. They love it. So one of the coaches says to me, like, he thinks he found his calling. Like he loves this so much, coaching these 7-year-olds in flag football.
Yep.
And I told him what I told you. I was like, imagine he could make his living off of this. And like, I don't think it's such a far stretch to think that like you might be able to replace like a very, very good paying job with the ecosystem around youth sports, especially if it was being filmed and monetized. Like I said to myself, maybe the grandparents who live in Florida want to be watching this game right now. Maybe they'd pay $3 to log in on a stream. Maybe they would pay $2 to watch the kid catching a ball in midair.
Yeah,
and like,
it's happening already. There's already apps like this that do this kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like, it's not that far-fetched to me to think that like, the referee should also be being paid a little bit better, and the equipment managers and the people who sell the balls and the jerseys. And so like, I just feel like these economies are already naturally springing up in replace. Like, I'm not one of these people that's crazy that thinks AI is coming to take like everybody's job like away from them. I just think it's coming to provide a new job, and
I agree.
And like, it's providing the kind of work that's even more meaningful in your life in all these subgenres. So I just like, I'm watching what you're doing, and I was, getting ready for this podcast today, and I was like, wow, look at this guy. He's such an entrepreneur. He's built beautiful merch, an incredible academy, social media notoriety. You're selling, and let me pull it up while you, because I want to hear from you. But you also are on selling courses on BJJ Fanatics.
Yep.
Here's Alex's course on BJJ Fanatics. It's called Not Your Grandpa's Kimura.
Yeah. Good friend of mine named that. I have, so many amazing students, and one of my students is like a world-renowned copywriter, and
Yes.
he's actually the uke in this video too.
Yeah.
He's really good jiu-jitsu, and yeah, he's the one that named it. I said, sold. Let's go with that.
Yeah. And you've got the G roll, which is
That was the original one. Yeah.
Yeah, you're part of the system. So here you're selling courses, and so like I was so interested to talk to you because whether you're like we're super aware of it or not, I've written about this extensively. Like I talk about this a lot. I think that you're representing this new economy that's out there. I think it's really exciting.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm doing this every day. I don't realize it. So like, I really appreciate your words and your outlook.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I'm just doing what I feel like I need to be doing, and so far good things are happening.
Yeah, a good friend of mine. Her name is Robin Arzon. She's the head Peloton instructor. You know Peloton? It's like the biking.
Of course, yeah, of course, yeah.
She has like 1 million followers on social media, and she was super early. But before she went to work for Peloton, she was a corporate attorney. And when she told her parents that she was going to leave corporate law for fitness, it was like super taboo. I met her right as this was happening, like more than 10 years ago. And before COVID, Peloton, there was no guarantee that this was going to be any success anyway. It certainly wasn't a publicly traded company. It was kind of like a startup. But again, it's like this leaning into kind of where the puck is going. And I'm just seeing it all over the place, like in so many different areas. And I also like kind of like you're saying it, like I'm seeing it with people who don't realize it's all connected, because like in my capacity as a landlord in commercial spaces all over the country, I see all these little businesses starting up, wine and sips and pottery making and a lot of things around the kids, So just like I'm getting just so excited about the future.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah, I think I agree with you. Like even when the internet was first formed, right? Like created so many jobs. Like I have a student who has an SEO company, right? And that was only possible because of the internet, right? And so many new careers opened up. And I think the same with AI. I think, I don't believe AI is going to take everybody's job, but I believe that AI is going to also create a lot of jobs, and a lot of things will kind of disappear as they have in the past.
Yeah, unlocking things. I was watching a documentary the other day, and it was about on YouTube, and this kid was leaving private equity to start a run club in the city. I mean, like, can you imagine? I can't even imagine 20 years ago telling my parents, "Hey, listen, I'm going to start this run club." They'd be like, "Do that on your own time. You can do that on the weekends. You can't leave private equity to go do a run club."
Yeah, especially to like immigrant parents. Yeah, like my parents are immigrants, and they were just like, even I was like already a brown belt, like traveling the world, doing very well. And my dad was like, "Hey, so how's your karate going? And what are you doing with that karate stuff?" And I think one of the first compliments I ever received from my dad, one of the only ones, and this is completely fine. I'm completely fine with it. But we have a great relationship. But it was when he came to the grand opening of my first gym, and he was like, "Wow, there's people here." But it was like in a very complimenting tone, and I was like, "Yeah, there's a few people here." He's like, and he was like, "I'm impressed," And like that's I think the first time, and I was already doing martial arts for I don't know 12, 13 years at that time.
Yeah.
And that's the first time that he saw what I was building.
That's incredible. I'm so grateful for you to say that on here. It's really hard to describe that to people who want to take the entrepreneurial leap. A lot of people that I counsel and that I coach and that I talk to about leaving their job to go pursue a business, and they don't have support from their family, from their friends. They don't understand. Like you have to have a lot of conviction in yourself, and like entrepreneurs, sometimes like they're your own parents are going to be the ones who are not the first ones to compliment you. They want you to do something else. They want you to follow in their footsteps or not repeat their mistakes, all different types of things. But it's so interesting to hear you say that, because I think like a lot of people need to hear that.
Yeah, you got to believe in yourself. Like, no, don't get me wrong. My parents like always really supported me, but yeah, they had doubts, and they, every other month, like, hey, so have you considered going back to school, or have you considered this, or have you considered that? And as you said, I always had conviction. I always had belief in myself, and I always try to work as hard as I can to achieve my goals. So I
Yeah.
think as long as you do that, I think you can do anything.
Well said. Well, we went over your amazing app and your academy. I can't wait to come train with you. I hope that you will be a return guest on this podcast and keep us updated on all the things you're doing. Off air, you and I spoke about planning some events in the future together. So we'll keep the audience updated on that as well. I just wanted to let you know that I'm really grateful to be connected with you. I really admire all the work that you do. I love the artistic flair you bring to it. And I can't wait to get my my shorts and my rash guard.
Thank you, Jordan. Jordan, thank you for having me. Thank you for the support. And
Yeah.
that's what I think. I have a love-hate relationship with social media, but I really, really love that I can connect with people like you, and see what you're doing, and stay in touch. And huge thanks, and looking forward to training with you and to meeting you in person.
Yeah, absolutely.